Now to a Target 12 investigation you won't see anywhere else. Hidden House Rep. It's some of the most bizarre undercover video we've ever captured. After spotting one of our vehicles, watch as this Rhode Island lawmaker wraps his head in a t-shirt, apparently trying to conceal his face.
You have no story.
Tell me why you wrapped a t-shirt around your head when you spotted one of our vehicles. Why was that?
State Representative John Carnevale is supposed to live in Providence, in the district he represents. So why did we often see him at a property he owns in Johnston, outside of his district? And our findings are once again raising serious questions about how honest one of your lawmakers is being. Target 12 investigator Tim White has the exclusive details from the Providence Mobile Newsroom.
We see this as an either-or situation for Rep. Carnevale. Either he's been dishonest with the voters by living outside the district he represents, or he lives in the district but has repeatedly failed to disclose a property he owns to the State Ethics Commission. This two-family home in Providence is where State Representative John Carnevale says, in multiple state filings, he's lived since he was elected to office in 2008. But tax records in Johnston show he bought this home on Greenville Avenue in Johnston the year before. The Providence home is in District 13, which Carnevale represents. The Johnston home is in District 44. We checked and found Carnevale is registered to vote at the Providence home, and his campaign finance filings use that address as well. Tax records show he's one of the owners of the house. Acting on a tip, Target 12 kept watch on both properties. Our cameras spotted several cars registered in Carnevale's name parked at the Johnston home. We never saw them parked at the home in Providence. Target 12 even witnessed Carnevale's vehicle parked outside the Johnston home at midnight. On occasion, we would see Carnevale at the Johnston house, again outside his district, including this strange moment. Our cameras were rolling as we saw him walk out of his house. He seems to spot our undercover vehicle down the road, so Carnevale turns around. When he comes back out a moment later, he has a t-shirt wrapped around his head. You can see he keeps peeking over at us. Then, with the shirt still concealing his face, he gets behind the wheel of his car and leaves. So what if Carnevale owns a house in Johnston but doesn't live there? Well, as a lawmaker, he's required by law to disclose any property he doesn't live in with the Rhode Island Ethics Commission. We checked nearly a decade of paperwork, and not once did he disclose the Johnston house to the Ethics Commission. And Target 12 also discovered this document. It's called a Borrower Occupancy Covenant, filed with the town of Johnston and signed by Carnevale. It states he agrees to live in the Johnston property, again the one outside his district, as his principal residence. Carnevale holds a top post with the powerful House Finance Committee. We met up with him as he was walking into the State House late last week. Hey, Rep. Tim White from Channel 12.
Hi, I know how I'm doing.
I'm good, thanks.
Good to see you.
Hey, we're trying to get a grasp as to where you live exactly. We see you a lot at a house you own in Johnston on Greenville Ave. Can you just stop and talk to us for a second?
You have no story here.
Okay, tell me why.
Whatsoever.
Tell me why.
No story.
So tell me why. You didn't file on your ethics commission you owned that property. How come?
You have no story.
Tell me why you wrapped a t-shirt around your head when you spotted one of our vehicles. Why was that? Rep, I think the people of your district want an answer as to what's going on. You're an elected official, Rep. I think you need to answer these questions. Are you living in Providence or in Johnston? We were stopped by Capitol Police and our questioning ended. Again, the situation is either Rep. Carnevale lives outside the district he represents, or he's failed to disclose a property to the State Ethics Commission. New at 6 o'clock, we tracked down current and former tenants of the Providence house that Carnevale says he lives in. With the Target 12 investigators, Tim White, Eyewitness News.
New details in a Target 12 investigators exclusive Hidden House Rep. After apparently spotting a Target 12 undercover vehicle, this state lawmaker wraps a t-shirt around his face. We've raised serious questions about whether or not State Representative John Carnevale actually lives in the district he represents.
And new at 6, we tracked down former tenants who tell us Carnevale told them to say he lived in a Providence house, even though both apartments were being rented out. Let's get to Target 12 investigator Tim White, who has the exclusive details from the Providence Mobile Newsroom.
As we said at 5 o'clock, there seems to be two options for Representative Carnevale. Either he's being dishonest with the voters by living outside the district he represents, or he's repeatedly failed to disclose a property he owns to the State Ethics Commission. After months of undercover work, State Representative John Carnevale apparently spots one of our vehicles outside a house in Johnston he owns. Watch as he disappears and less than a minute later reemerges with a t-shirt wrapped around his head. You can see he seems to be peeking over at us. With his face still concealed, Carnevale hops behind the wheel of his car and drives away. Representative Carnevale had little to say when we asked him about the bizarre behavior. We're trying to get a grasp as to where you live exactly. We see you a lot at a house you own in Johnston on Greenville Ave. Can you just stop and talk to us for a second?
You have no story here.
Okay, tell me why.
Whatsoever.
Tell me why.
No story.
Tell me why you wrapped a t-shirt around your head when you spotted one of our vehicles. Why was that? Rep, I think the people of your district want an answer as to what's going on. A Target 12 investigation has uncovered Carnevale, who represents District 13 in Providence since 2009, owns this Johnston home. Cars registered in his name were routinely spotted in Johnston, even at midnight. We never saw the cars at the Providence address. If Carnevale doesn't live in Johnston, again outside his district, he is supposed to disclose the property to the State Ethics Commission. Nearly a decade of financial disclosure forms he signed show he's never done that, and a mortgage document pledges he'll live in the Johnston home to his bank. Target 12 tracked down two former tenants that lived in the Providence home where Carnevale says he lives in Board of Elections filings. They asked not to be identified for fear of retribution. They tell us Carnevale was their landlord and he didn't live here. And even more, they say they were told to tell anyone that asked that he did. Target 12 was undercover when we asked a current tenant if he lived there. They said no. Then after Carnevale apparently became suspicious, we sent a producer back to the home, and the story was different.
Hey,
Hi.
I was looking for John Carnevale.
He's not home right now.
Does he live here?
Yes.
All right. Do you expect him back anytime soon?
I'm not sure.
All right.
You're an elected official, Rep. I think you need to answer these questions. Are you living in Providence or in Johnston? Tax records show Carnevale does not get a homestead exemption in Johnston, which means he does not take advantage of a tax break given to those who live in their primary residence. With the Target 12 investigators, Tim White, Eyewitness News.
We've just learned the state Republican Party has filed a complaint with election officials in Providence challenging Carnevale's claim that he lives in Providence, the district he represents.
And also new at 6, we're getting reaction from the House Speaker on our findings.
Target 12 investigator Tim White is live in Providence tonight with the exclusive details.
In the wake of our report, we've learned Representative Carnevale has gone back and amended a decade's worth of filings with the State Ethics Commission to finally reveal a property he owns in Johnston outside his district. House Speaker Nicholas Mattiello says after seeing our report, he plans to question State Representative John Carnevale, and he has a simple question for the Providence lawmaker.
I'm going to ask him where he lives. And expect that he lives in the district that he serves, or if he does not, clearly the rules would suggest that he should not run for re-election.
Our investigation found Carnevale is either living outside the district he represents, or he had repeatedly failed to disclose a property he owns in Johnston outside his district to the State Ethics Commission. He also signed a mortgage document pledging to live in the Johnston house with his bank. Our undercover cameras routinely spotted Carnevale at the Johnston home, including this bizarre moment when, after apparently spotting our vehicle, he wraps a t-shirt around his face and drives away. We asked Mattiello about the strange behavior.
I don't know. It looked from what I saw on TV, looked odd. I have no other comment beyond that.
You have no story here.
On Monday, Carnevale went back and changed 9 years of ethics filings to disclose the Johnston property and 2 others, which means he still claims to live in his Providence district. Mattiello says he plans to keep Carnevale as vice chairman of the House Finance Committee for now.
Well, as I said, I'm going to have a conversation with them as to where he lives and whether he plans on running for re-election.
On Tuesday, Carnevale continued to decline to speak with us as he left the State House. Do you have time for us, Rep? Can you answer our questions? Rep, why don't you stop and answer the questions? As you can hear there, Carnevale isn't answering our questions. As a matter of fact, he again told us we have no story as he was leaving the State House, but he is talking to other reporters. He just told a scrum of them up there that he, quote, 100% lives in Providence and he plans on running again for re-election in the fall. With the Target 12 investigators, Tim White, Eyewitness News.
But first at 6:30, we have breaking news in our Target 12 investigators exclusive Hidden House Rep.
Day 2 of a Board of Canvassers hearing, and just moments ago, a major decision from the board.
They voted to strip Rep. John Carnevale of his voter registration in his district. Target 12 investigator Tim White broke this story. He's been inside that meeting all afternoon and is live at Providence City Hall with the latest information.
Steve Shannon, that vote just happened. I'm on the 5th floor of Providence City Hall, just outside the hearing room. If you cannot vote in your district, you cannot run for office. So that would mean that John Carnevale is going to be removed from the ballot this fall as he was planning on running for re-election. Now, he can appeal to the State Board of Elections. More on that in a moment. Why did the Board of Canvassers vote this way? It was 2-0, unanimous vote. They say there were some inconsistencies in Carnevale's testimony, and particularly there was the incident of the parking tickets. You may remember that a Providence police lieutenant says Carnevale asked him to intentionally write him parking tickets, ostensibly to prove that he lives at 150 Barber Street in Providence inside his district. Carnevale says that officer has it wrong. You can hear it for yourself in his own words. Here's what he had to say.
I know Lieutenant Fernandez. I worked with him, and he's the lieutenant in my district. We work quite well together, I believe. On the date that you see here, I was having problems with a motor vehicle. I wanted to leave it in front of 150 Barber Street and not have it tagged. Knowing the lieutenant's cell phone number, I called the lieutenant to ask him not to have it tagged. He recommended a dummy tag. I said to him, I don't want a dummy tag. You get problems with dummy tags. I said, I'd rather have just left it out and get tagged.
So the big question, of course, is Representative John Carnevale going to appeal to the State Board of Elections? He tells us he's going to think about it tonight. So we should know more tomorrow about whether or not he's going to take that next step. And that next step has to happen fast. Keep in mind, they have to print these ballots. This is a breaking story that John Carnevale has been removed from the voter registration rolls. We are still gathering reaction as we speak.
State Representative John Carnevale has decided he is not seeking re-election.
Let's go to Target 12 investigator Tim White with the latest details.
7 weeks after our investigation first aired, the lawyer for the embattled Providence lawmaker says their fight in the residency case is over.
Approximately.
In a letter to his constituents in Providence's District 13, State Representative John Carnevale says he's pulling out of the race. He writes, out of consideration for my family, neighbors, and constituents, I have decided to withdraw as a candidate for re-election. And Carnevale is also not appealing a decision by the Providence Board of Canvassers. They ruled Thursday to remove him from the voter rolls because they did not believe Carnevale lives in his district.
You have no story here.
Okay, tell me why.
Whatsoever.
Tell me why.
No story.
All this after a Target 12 investigation on June 13th raised questions about whether Carnevale lives in this house in Providence or this one he owns in Johnston outside his district. The next day, the state GOP filed a challenge with the Providence Board of Canvassers on Carnevale's residency. After 3 hearings, they issued their decision.
Rhode Islanders have had enough. Enough is enough of this kind of behavior. People deserve to have confidence in their public officials, and I'm actually just happy that we can now move on and there's some finality to it.
The head of Common Cause Rhode Island tells me these election law cases are put on the fast track because state officials have to print the ballots 40 days ahead of the primary so they can send them to troops overseas. With the Target 12 investigators, Tim White, Eyewitness News.